All right, in this lesson, I'm going to create a easy way to create tulip painting. I'm not going to be using the still life of tulips or anything, so I'm just going to be using basically just from my imagination. First, I'm going to do is draw a vase in a cone shape in the middle of the canvas board. Then I'm going to draw my tulips. I'm going to draw my tulips with a in a rectangular or oval shape. And I'm just going to fill up the top part of my canvas board with square shapes, and these will be my tulips, represent my tulips. So I'm just going to kind of fill up that top space, and I'm just lightly drawing with my brush and drawing the stem inside the vase. So this is just a basic, easy way to create a tulip painting or flower painting, just from I guess just basically from your imagination. And basically, this is an easy painting to do. Just kind of practice with the palette knife, and also just if you want to make a cool painting, flower painting, this is just an easy way, just using basic shapes. So now I'm going to start on my background. I'm using ultramarine blue and a mixture of titanium white, and I'm just going to layer in my mixture of light blue in the background, just filling those empty spaces around my tulips. I'm not going in any particular direction with the strokes, just filling in those that background area, the negative space. As you can see, you see different variations of light blue. That's okay, because I'm going to kind of mix it up as I go through in the middle part of the painting. Here I'm just filling in those empty spaces. I'm painting over my stems a little bit and my leaves. That's okay. I'll come back in and fill those in. And I'm just lightly layering different palette strokes throughout the background. Very loose, very clean. Not trying to get perfect, not trying to go for realism. And get on the other side and just get this side over here on the right side. And I'm just using my palette knife to get in those small crevices areas. I'm just filling all those empty white spaces. As you can see, I painted over my stem, but I could still see from where I'm standing the stems showing through the blue paint. So I still kind of got an idea of where my stems and my leaves are going to be. So that's okay. So you kind of get the idea of where everything's going to go. You see the vase, the table, the background. You see the tulips. So now I'm going to go ahead and add just some color. Well, I wouldn't say color, but I'm going to add a little bit of make my background a little bit more interesting by adding some darker blue to the background. Kind of mix it up so it won't be so flat. And I'm just kind of lightly splotching a darker hue of the blue. I wanted to make my background a little bit more interesting so it won't be so flat. Now you don't have to do this. This is something that I like to do. As I go on throughout the painting, I add do that a little bit more with different colors, not just with blue, but some more color, red, yellows, and oranges. Okay, now I'm going to get ready to start on my table. I'm kind of thinking that my vase is on a tablecloth, so I'm going to use some titanium white and a hint of yellow, preferably cadmium yellow. It looks more towards the white side, but I have a little yellow inside of it. If you look real close, you can see the yellow. And as I move over to the right, you'll see I add more yellow in my mixture. And again, I'm not going in any particular direction. I'm just paint freely, just easy, loose strokes. You can see I add a little bit more yellow. Reason why I add a little more yellow, I'm thinking as I do most of my paintings that I'm painting from my imagination. I use the rule of light to dark from left to right. So on the left side of my painting is light, on the right side of my painting is a little bit darker. So that's why I have a little bit more yellow on the right side. That's pretty much how we do everything from left to right, especially like as if same way we read a book, so to speak. We start from the left to right. And here I'm going to add some my shadow. Since my table has a little yellow in it, I'm going to use my shadow violet, which is the complementary color of yellow. So I added violet to make my shadow from the vase. Here I'm going to put some of that blue in there. Just again, I'm just adding some of these things, other colors, to make my overall painting a little bit more interesting, so it won't be so flat. Now, if you was painting with a brush, you can do the same thing, but I like doing it with a palette knife. Now I'm going to go ahead and start on my vase. I'm going to paint my vase with a turquoise color, a mixture of turquoise and ultramarine blue. I'm going to have the right side of it dark and the left side light. So here you can see the little turquoise mixed in with the blue. And as I move over to the left side of the vase, it's going to lighten. I'm going to use a lighter hue of that same color. Again, painting very loose, loose strokes. I'm letting the wet touch the wet. And you can see the blue is touching that turquoise very nicely, very loose. Now I'm going to add a little yellow. Bring some more color to the vase. And a red. Not red, excuse me, a darker blue. A little bit of that violet. So I'm going to add my highlights to my face. I could make my shadow actually a little bit darker, but I'm going to leave it like that. My shadow on the table, on the table. And I'm going to put a little bit of that turquoise inside my table. Again, I'm adding color throughout my some of these other colors throughout my painting, even though it's not in the table. I'm going to add some of those turquoise and yellows and violets and blues on my table, even in my background, just to kind of bring unity within the painting. This is something you don't have to do. This is something that I chose to do to make the painting a little bit more interesting and a little bit more expressionistic. And here I'm adding some more of that blue. This is more of a blue tone painting, as you can see. You got the turquoise, you got the blue, you have the violent shadows. Um, so it has a nice, cool tone to the painting, overall painting. Now I'm going to add violet to my rose. I mean, excuse me, to my tulips. I'm just going to see how this look. I like how the violet plays with the kind of go along with the blue, complement the blue, but I think I might change it. I still, for some reason, I just like red, so I'm gonna change that to red. Change my tulips to red. Let me get my paint out and get my mixture together. As you can see, my tools are not really defined, but I still got an idea of where they are and where they're located. And I can always come in and just define the shape with my palette knife. And I'm just basically just going to fill in these square rectangular shapes with my red. And on the right side of the tulip, I'm going to have a darker hue of the red, and on the left side is going to be a lighter hue. Again, I'm following that same rule, left to right, light to dark. As you can see, I'm having little scratches using the tip of my palette knife to show the little scratches within my paint, leaving an interesting texture. That is totally fine. I kind of like that. I'm going to go over this violet a little bit with this red. And here I'm going to add a lot of hue of the red. I'm using cadmium red as well with a hint of blue. Just kind of uh, give it a little bit more color to it. As you can see, one half of the tulip is one tone, and the other half is a darker tone, so to speak. So I'm going to do that throughout the rest of the tulips. I'm using the tip of my palette knife to kind of help define the shape of the tulip too. As you can see, it's more towards a rectangular shape, so I kind of make sure I have that keep that shape. I know even though I paint outside the line, so to speak, I still come back in and use the tip of the palette knife to kind of help define it. Now I'm going to kind of add some highlights a little bit to the tulips. Now I notice as I'm adding my highlights, some of my darker areas on the tulip are not that dark, so I'm going to go back in and kind of darken it up a little bit. This to kind of help shape the form of the tulip. Just showing a variation from dark, medium to light value. Here I add a mixture of that violet within the red that I already had to give it to show some darker value within the tulip. Again, even though I went outside the line, that's okay. Again, I'm not trying to go for realism or perfection. I kind of like how it goes out of the line a little bit. That's what makes using the palette knife unique. Okay, now I'm going to fill in those empty spaces. I got a lot of white canvas board showing, so I'm going to go ahead and fill those in with the blue. Define my face a little bit better. Now I'm going to add, just like I did turquoise on that table, I'm going to add a little spotches of red throughout the painting. Again, you don't have to do this. It's just something that I like to do and just kind of help bring unity throughout the painting. Just add some color, uh, kind of give it that wow factor throughout the entire painting. So again, you don't have to do that part. I'm just putting a little red in the vase, and I'm going to put some more red in the background and a little bit on the table. I'm just lightly touching canvas board with just a little bit of splotches of red, light red. Put some down at the bottom. And I'm going to add a little light yellow, the same colors I use for the highlights on the tulip. I'm going to add some of that throughout the painting as well. Okay, now I'm going to just use a scratching technique that I like to use throughout my painting, especially my jazz painting. And I'm just using the tip of my palette knife and just kind of scratching the wet paint all over the canvas board. Now, this is something that you don't have to do. It's just something that I like to do. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. It's totally up to you. Some people would consider it a big mess, but I like it. And I'm going to go ahead and start on my stems and my leaves. Now, if you look at a vase with a lot of tulips, you have a lot of greenery showing out, coming out of the vase. So I'm going to do a lot of that right now in this part of the painting. And the blue paint, the red paint, all that stuff is still wet. So I'm using a nice uh, coat of paint on my palette knife to make my stems and my leaves coming out of the vase. And I'm using a green chroma oxide uh, green plus some cadmium yellow mixed in. So it's kind of like a medium yellowish stems. But I'm going to go back in and darken it up, some of it up to show more depth throughout the stems and the leaves. As you can see, I'm darkening it up a little bit. I add more blue to my green to darken it up. I'm going to use the tip and the edge of my palette knife. Now, one of the things is kind of hard to kind of get a straight, clean line because the paint is still wet. So you might want to keep that in mind. You can wait till the paint dry before you start on your stems. It's totally up to you. The main point, I just want to kind of get you familiar with painting a interesting uh, floral arrangement or flower painting. Tulip is one of the easiest flowers to paint. Just using basic shapes. You got the vase with the basic triangle cone shape. You got the tulips with the basic uh, rectangular shapes, and stems are pretty much just straight, thick lines. So it's pretty simple. So I encourage all you guys that if you're interested in making a flower painting like this, is just look at it as basically painting with shapes. I'm going to add some highlights here. I'm just adding a little yellow to my green, a little white and yellow to my the green mixture that I already had on my palette. Yes, everything is not really defined. The tubes are not defined. The leaves and the stems are not defined, but you still can kind of get an idea of what everything looks. And again, paint loose, be free. One of the things I like about painting with the palette knife again is that if you don't feel like you're a good painter or a good drawer, the palette knife allows you to get away with all this, creating a good painting without having to be a great uh, drawer or painter. So I hope this was informational, helpful. Thank you for watching. Remember, just paint. Thanks.